Hi guys, in this video, I will explain how you can make a AI chatbot in React Native with help of server-side streaming. So if you have used ChatGPT, what they would have done is they would, when you ask a question, they would stream the answers chunk by chunk to the front end. So as we all know, in REST API, you can request something and get the whole answer as a single response. But if you want to stream it, you can do it with the help of a concept called server side streaming, which we will be using to accomplish this particular task. So I will show you a demo here. So let's take I tap here and ask uh, what should I learn today, right? So if I do that, you can see loader state is there, and then once the loading stops, the answer is streamed to the front end like this. So it says that depends on your interest, etc., right? You can see the answer got streamed rather than it got sent in a single way, right? So this is achieved with the concept of SSE, which is server side events, where we would stream the events from the backend to the front end. So you can do it in two ways. You can directly call the API or your LLM's API or your ChatGPT's API in your front end, which is never recommended. The second one is you can configure your backend. Let's take it is made with Express.js or Django or Ruby on Rails, anything. You can set up your backend's API so that it streams the value from the backend to the front end. And once the value has finished streaming, it will just complete that particular flow, right? So this is how we can do it. So this is a normal example where when I tap, like when I search something, let's take I'm going to search how many liters of water I should drink, right? And see it's also multi-line because yeah. So once I do that, the answer will stream like this. You can see it got streamed. So this is giving the output in Markdown. You can use a library called React Native Markdown Display to display it properly in your app, which is what we did. So I'm not going to go into that detail as this course is about this video is about SSE events, right? So in the next one, we will be diving into the concepts of what are the different ways you can do it in ChatGPT's API, and then how you can do it on your own. And then I will be explaining the concept in the React Native part in JavaScript. And then for the backend, I will be using Express.js to explain how I stream the events from the backend to the front end and how you can do it as well. So let's do it, right? Now, if I go here, you can see you can do it in three ways. One is you can use ChatGPT's normal, what I would say, the completion API, where you can enable the stream is to true to stream the events to your front end application, right? You can do it in that way, which is what most AI wrappers do, and they do it properly to earn a lot of money. The next one is the assistant API, which is very advanced one, where you can create particular assistants like let's say coding assistant or your chatbot assistant, etc., by adding specific files to the API or to the in the ChatGPT's dashboard, where you can upload files, PDFs, documents, so that it learns from that particular information or that knowledge base, and then it can output in that way. It is a huge concept where a lot of things like run, and then we have to create a thread, and then we have to send an answer to that thread or ask a question to that thread, and then we have to run the thread. We have to check if that run is completed and then stream the event. So it's a huge concept which we integrated in our platform, which I'm not going to discuss here because it's too advanced. And then the next one is the your own LLMs with Cloudflare AI SDKs or replicate. We have not gone into this, but if let's take you have a huge a knowledge base and then you don't want to use ChatGPT due to privacy concerns, and then you just wanted to use Cloudflare AI SDK or sorry your own AI LLMs where you upload the files, etc., and then stream the content, right? You can also do it in this tutorial will be useful for those projects as well, right? So let's get into the code. For the React Native side, I will discuss what I am doing here, right? So let's see, at the top I have a text input. So what I'll text input where you can, when you enter a question, right, to and then ask the assistant, we would send the request to the API where we would get the response and we would stream it to the front end like this. So I'll explain it one by one. So I'm importing the proper libraries here, and then what you have to do is you have to install the library called react-native-sse, right, in your project, and then you also have to install these two. So it should be npm I this and this, right? And this is what I always use a concept called a dynamic width and height, so that even if your app is in what I would say iPad as well as in tablets, it would scale properly. As well as for the fonts, try to use a dynamic fonts with respect to the pixel ratio and the width and height of the device. And for the padding and margin, you can do that as well for advanced applications. So that's what I do. Right now, if I scroll down, I can see. Let's go into the component where I have provided an input field and it's a multi-line, right? So as you saw, if it goes more than one line, it would automatically scale down. And then as the user types, I'm going to like change the input. And then once we go down, you can see in this section what I'm going to do is when the user taps on that send icon, we would call this particular API, which would indeed instead call the SSE events API, right? So you can do this in two ways. One is you can, as I said in the previous, like in the starting of the video, you can make your own API like what I have done here. You can host it to AWS, GCP, Cloudflare, anywhere, and then you can simply call it, right? Like, and then that event should be streamed here. Or else you can straight away call the API of ChatGPT, but the keys would be exposed in the front end, which is never recommended. Right? It's not correct, right? But if for testing you can do this, and then you can port it to the backend. Like that's what I do, right? You shouldn't push it to any Git so that the keys are exposed. Now what I'm doing is I have provided a useref here where if you go to the SSE's documentation, what they would have done is they would have called the particular SSE event when the component gets rendered for the first time in the use effect, right? That is like in use effect, they would simply call it and then they would get the answer here. But that is not an ideal case for most of the applications. Mostly what you would do is you would provide an answer, like ask a question, and then you have to manually start the event source, right? Or the server side events. That is the correct way. So that's what I have done here. This is a customized solution that I have introduced here. Once you enter the useref, you can scroll down and then you have to initialize the useref. And then once the user taps on that send, you call this particular function and you start receiving events from this particular URL, right? So and then what you can do is in the second parameter, you can call the headers, and then you have, this is like in the backend I have configured this as a post method, so you have to give it method as post, and then in the body use JSON.stringify to properly send the values to the backend, because we would receive these elements in the backend so that the API works properly. Once that is done, what I have done here is I have added a event listener. So what this event listener does is once the streaming starts, it would get this message. So this message is a key. It's a fixed key, right? So in the add event listener, once the message gets started receiving, I would get the events, and then I would append the values to the answer state, right? So that's what I'm doing here. So once once I receive the events, let's say I indent this. So in this one, sorry, I close this. This one you can see the events that I get from the I pass the values that I get from the backend, and then what I do is, as this is a ChatGPT's API, they provide it in they provide it in this format, right? Choices of 0. Like I will explain it later. And then in the in this particular event, as it is streaming, right? When something gets streamed, this would be like it would start like chat.completion.start, and then all those events would be there, right? We would only get the chunk event, and then we would also check if this particular value exists, and then we would add the value to the particular state. Okay, so I'll just show you a demo. So in this one, what I'm going to do is, you can see the answer is it's empty string. If I scroll down in this side, the answer is simply appended here, right? Rendered here. Now I initialize a temporary variable as empty string, and then I append the values that I get from the API, and then I would finally update the answer state, right? So let's take I go back, and then let's take I enter how to code well, right? So I can do that, and then you can see once I tap on the button, this particular function will be called. The API would be triggered, which would get the required values. So I'm going to go here, tap on this. The events would be properly streamed to the particular values. So that is the case here. You can see it is getting streamed, right? So that is how you do it in the React Native side. But as I said, should be this is a full stack project, not a React Native only project. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to go to the what I would say, this particular one, and then this is my backend API, right? So this is done with the Express.js. I have deployed it to GCP, where I get that particular custom what I would say, the URL which points to my own portfolio, right? So because now it looks good, better than the normal Cloud Run URL. Now you can see what I have done. I have declared a particular route, and then this is the most important one. You have to mention this, right? Like, this is the most important one. You have to set the header that the content type that we are going to send as a response would be an event stream. Okay, so this is must. And then you also have to keep the connection alive. As I said before, it's a one-way connection where you request something, you get the data back, and the connection stops. That's how most of the APIs work. This is an SSE event, so these two things are important so that this gets converted to an SSE one. And now if I scroll down, you can see I have because I have entered OpenAI's where I would call their API to get the values. You can also configure it for your own LLMs, where you can add the param of stream or streaming or whatever. But for OpenAI, the keyword should be stream is to true in the what I would say, they respond whenever we request something to their URL, and then we want to get the values as a stream, right? So we do that, and then you have to provide your API key, which I have hidden somewhere in env values. And then this is a GPT-4.0 model, right? So once that is done, if I scroll down, right, you can see what I am doing here. Actually, I am getting the events that is getting streamed from the OpenAI's response, and then I'm going to filter and filter those events. And then here is the most important part, where I send the events, this one. So I am going to send whatever the events or the event data that I get from OpenAI to my front end with the help of this. And once that is done, so this is not equal to done, right? So it's not equal to done, send the data. If it's equal to done, send the done, and then end the particular stream, right? So once the is done, we end the stream, right? And then I also put it in a try catch block, because if some error happens, we should end the stream and then not have any memory leaks, etc., where it just keeps on running until it gets timed out in your API, right? I have deployed it in the Google cloud. So once that is deployed, you can use it in your front end application like this. And then if I scroll down in this done part, right? So what I have done here, so if it's done, I'm going to send this one. So I'm going to catch that particular event here, and then I'm going to catch that particular event here, and then I'm going to handle the stream stop. So this is very important for preventing memory leaks, right? So once that is the response is done, I'm going to close the connection so that it doesn't get on stream continuously and then incur cost or memory leaks and then eventually crash the app. So this is how you properly implement the streaming in your application. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the terminal and then restart it. So as you can see, I have given console.log here, right? I'm going to show you the streaming of data and why I have provided this one, right? So of this of content, because if it's undefined, this wouldn't get appended. If we don't put this check, right, what happens is we would get that undefined value beside our answers. So I'm going to go here and let's take how to sleep, right? So I'll do it. I'll have the nice loader with activity indicator, and the values are getting, so you can see the values are streamed here. So this is from my backend, right? And then at the last answer you can see undefined. That is where the done gets triggered, and then we will stop the stream, and then we can also request another one. So this is how you stream your application, you implement AI chatbot streaming in your React Native application. You can also use the same concept to do it in your websites as well, which is made with React.js or React.js or Next.js, where the backend will stay the same, but in the front end you will use the same event source concept or the server side events concept, and then render it in the front end. So bonus additional concept that I'm going to discuss here is, so this is a concept where I just append that particular state. So this is okay for this demo. But what if I want to do it in a proper chatbot way? So you can simply do it in the way of you can initialize a array, and then in that particular array, whatever the user types, you add it in that particular array is what I would say. As an object, let's take it would be called as a question, and then for the answer you wait, and then for that particular state that when you send when the user sends a query, you append a unique ID to that, and then you with that particular unique ID you get that ID, and then in this section you use something called a spread operator and then map function to get that particular ID, and then append the responses to that particular object. And then once that is done, you clean it up. So it's a big one. So that's it for this video. So do let me know if it was helpful for you to make your own AI application, right? But this is a normal use case. But for an advanced use case, I would recommend diving more into assistants and your own LLMs, right? Because for assistants, you can have your own knowledge base, etc. But for normal chat completion, you can just enter some additional instructions, and then that won't suffice for a big enterprise application. So yeah, so do let me know how it is, and then if you want more videos on other topics like this and this. Thanks for watching.